Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, we have what I can only describe as a better version of the Brady Bunch from back then, but now 4 out of 5 of these human beings that have joined us today from the Player Dev Meetup. Most of you recall from our part 1 video where we had an opportunity to speak to Doom and Platy. Now, we have added Lev and the homie Jake Easy. Welcome.
What up?
Yo.
Fantastic. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you being here. I mean, just really starting off
Very
so good.
enthusiastic.
Just simple, just, wow, just really monotone. It's just, I was expecting to have a little bit from Platy giving us the teacher textbook response, but listen, that's okay. We will continue and move forward. So let's dive first off. I think the most important thing is being able to hear from Lev, from you, and from Jason. Initially, I'd love to hear, Lev, maybe we'll start with you. We'll go to Jason next. Can you, before we dive into Bastion's decorations, I of course want to hear your guys' thoughts on those, and then we'll get to kind of point 3 and beyond. What was your experience like in this player dev meetup? And then secondly, did you have an opportunity to attend the first one, and then any comparisons that you'd like to provide?
Yeah, so overall it was a new experience for me. I didn't get to attend the first one, so I can't really make a comparison on if this one was better or worse. I think the consensus was from the people that were there previously that it was a lot better than before. As far as how I felt about it, I mean, I think they heard some of our, primary concerns as far as like what they're actually going to do about it, and if they're going to, listen to our suggestions. I'm not sure. So only time will tell, but I hope they follow the right trajectory and, take advice from the players who are, in the thick of it every day. So we'll see.
Okay. No, appreciate you. Thank you for the share. Jason, how about you?
I'm gonna say it's definitely better than the first. I still don't think it was phenomenal. A lot of things that they were saying and bringing it up and how they were answering our questions and things kind of felt like they were blowing smoke up our asses. I'm just gonna say it. So until I see some kind of action from them, I don't think it went that well. Could have been better.
Okay. And is that more so coming from the perspective of not enough or too little?
Too little kind of generic responses and like beating around the question until like we kind of forced them to start answering more questions. And then when they did start answering more questions, they kind of said things that didn't make sense. Like, for example, when we brought up the free-to-play way of getting decorations and Platy gave them like the math on how long it's going to take, they straight up went like, nah, your math is wrong.
I think I recall Platy saying something in our first conversation about the math wasn't mathing, but just not on her end. Okay. Well, no. Thank you for expanding on that. I guess that gives me an easy segue. Okay, that gives me an easy segue. Lev, let me hear your thoughts, if you can share, for your thoughts on bastions and decorations that were touched on thus far.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts were pretty straightforward. I think I really criticized the decoration system and how it was implemented. The biggest thing was they just kind of threw it at us without any prior warning. And I said I still personally feel like there isn't enough ways to obtain decorations, and the ones that we are able to obtain aren't the premium ones. It's kind of like the wannabe legendary ones that are barely better than the epic ones. So that was kind of my biggest concern. And the other one was that they just really altered the state of the game. You basically go from being a T5 to a T7, stomping on T5s. We've done multiple tests. It's pretty self-explanatory, and it a lot of that translated into a lot of the other things like Roots of War, the Bastion fights. Open field, it's kind of whatever, unless you're fighting an alliance that has everybody with max decorations. But in the Bastion fights, and especially in like RoG and stuff, I'm sure you guys will touch on that later, it's going to be a pretty big factor. So I generally wasn't too happy. A lot of my guys are mid to low spend, and they weren't too happy about it either. as far as the Bastions, I pointed out, a couple of the primary concerns, like Garrison's never dying, it being way too easy to refill them being borderline impossible to take, as well as, a lot of the other like gameplay mechanics around them, like how hard it is to place them sometimes, people putting these, bum level 16 farm accounts to block the placement, and just a whole array of issues that they have, like, the Eliana dolls. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I think it's just stuff like that we want to see fixed, and we just want to also see another big thing I said was I would like it to be something other than infantry in the Bastions. So we'll see what they do about that. I know they made an update. I don't know if the other kings have seen any changes to how Bastions function. I haven't really seen anything right now. It's still just put your best infantry garrison and the guy that has the max decorations and just, sit there and constantly refill. So I don't know, man. I'm really hoping they make some good changes, but we'll see what they decide to do.
Gotcha. No, thank you for sharing. Question for you on that, and I'll obviously ask Jason this as well. If you had to kind of take a hard stance and draw a line in the sand on you'd rather just at this point only have the open field and then get rid of bastions, or them keep tinkering and hopefully trying to fine tune it with not necessarily knowing how long it's going to take to get to an ideal state, what path would you rather go down at this point?
I'm a big advocate for open field fighting. I think they could really improve the open field fighting, and I don't know how you balance the bastions. Like, to me, I feel like they should have been just like an offensive weapon that you could use to break through choke points that the enemy's like pre-set up, but they've been used more as a defensive tool personally. And I don't know, man. I feel like they're ruining a lot of like KVKs, a lot of kingdoms, and a lot of players are just getting bored because it essentially just halts all open field fighting and all progress during uptime, because you just have a few big players and they can instantly they can just constantly refill those things. So my approach would be just incentivize more open field fighting. Like, if they have to, maybe make bastions like on a cooldown, or I don't know. Like, I really don't know what the best way to go about solving them is. I just wish they would incentivize people fighting in the open field, getting, groups of players together, working, towards an objective, instead of just telling everybody to make sure you're refilling the bastion over the next 6 hours while we sleep. So
Sounds like a fun time. Almost feels as though being able to have a little bit more like tactical and strategic variety feels like a part of it, where it's maybe not so singularly focused, based on how you're describing it.
I mean, it's just boring. That's the issue. It's boring and it's not fun. Like, it's you can't make any cool plays with bastions. You can't set up like a cool blink play, or you can't set up a cool, cav flank or anything like that. And it's like I said, people just get bored. They log in, they see that we're just sending infantry here for the next 6 hours. I guess I can send in a couple of marches and log off. Like, that's what the gameplay essentially becomes. My suggestion was, and again, I don't know what the best way to fix this is. Either you just completely get rid of them, or make it so that they're only up for a few hours at a time, and they just deteriorate like those portals did. I don't know. I don't know what the best fix is. I think some of these other guys might have some suggestions, but I personally am really, really against them. So
Okay. No, thank you for sharing. Jason, to you. Thoughts on Bastion's decorations and your views?
I'm definitely against Bastions at the way they are now. Fixing them, simple fixes, get rid of make way, makes refilling them a shit ton harder. Don't let people TP so close to them, making that radius a little bigger, making the burn time on them faster, so we don't got to burn it 3 times. We only got to burn it like once to get rid of it, maybe even twice, and lower the troop count in them. So that way they're more swarmable and easier to take out. All those points were brought up by Abda during this meeting, and we gave them to the devs so that way they can tinker with it and bring that change to make Bastions a viable tool and not just a season ender, as Lev put. All right. For me personally, again, if they keep them in the game, they got to fix it so it doesn't just stop all kind of fighting. Because as we all know, as soon as we see the Bastion in our faces, or multiple Bastions in our faces, that's usually where the season's kind of like, all right, now we're on defense and we'll attempt to make a few pushes here and there, but they could get people on really fast, and because they got to burn 3 times, it doesn't fucking matter what we really do. So if they make the appropriate changes, keep it. If not, yeet it the hell out the game.
Okay. Thoughts on something that is kind of a Bastion byproduct of when it comes to doing something, for example, by maybe limiting the amount of shells allowed in.
That was also brought up to them.
Okay.
We brought up to them limiting the amount of shells, or looking at it as a kingdom kind of thing and not a alliance kind of thing anymore, and limiting how many bastions per season a server or a kingdom can use.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
So like saying like, yo, you got like 3 bastions for a season, whichever shells you want to use it in, but you got 3, figure it out. You know what I mean? Or like 2.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to see what else they do. How about, I guess, your thoughts? And I know you, I think you had briefly said a little about it, but your thoughts on decorations.
I think the idea of decorations is fine in a sense, and people are, in my eyes, are overreacting to it to an extent. I do think the way they went about it is kind of shitty and ruined the game and experience for a lot of people. So instead of giving a warning to people and letting people either A, save up for the bundles, or go to a more appropriate server to have a better gaming experience. But I think the decorations themselves, there's always been a disparity in the game between pay to win players and free to play players. And that gap has been closing over the last year or so, since free to play has had a lot of time to catch up with the T5s and the marches and etc. This just brought the gap back. So in my eyes, it kind of went back to how it used to be, like T5 versus T4. Like, sure, it's a little bit harder now, depending on who has max decorations or how many people have max decorations. But it's still the pay to win gap that's always kind of been in the game.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
do think, but I do think, speaking of decorations, I do think that free to play and low spend should have more accessibility to the good decorations, so that way they could keep grinding or min-maxing their accounts to get the decorations they need or to get them to the appropriate levels they need. The same way they were grinding and min-maxing it from T4 to T5. If they implement certain ways to do that and not just say, hey, spend $11,000 and you'll be maxed right now, that would be better overall for the game health.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of a similar process to, when they kind of introduced war pets, it kind of felt like you had this little Pokemon kind of approach to it on, at least it wasn't just kind of a straight up stat, and there was at least something you had to do, some kind of
Yeah, they
multi-step
slowly
action.
over time. Yeah, they kind of slowly over time implemented the pay to win aspect of war pets, right? When they first dropped it, it was a lot of luck involved in it, and then a lot of then came it the luck of catching the pet, the luck of regenning the pet, and then came like the min maxing and spending and or farming the merit shop to get the skills you need. Now it's just like, yo guys, you're T5 here, you could be T7, no problem. Spend 10 bands 1 week.
Well, that's a decent sum up right there. Okay. Well, no, thank you for that. All right, let's finally get to point 3, which they touched on for map design. Platy, can you start us off, please?
Yes. So again, we had been asked to submit questions ahead of time, and we had approached this in 2 ways. The first one was that we asked them how they were going to encourage more fair open field PvP. That we don't want unbalanced PvP. We don't want to build for 15 hours to have 10 minutes of PvP until somebody throws a bastion down. We want open field. And then the other part of that was we want fair open field PvP, meaning the maps need to be designed in a way that are fair for each of the teams. You can't have one that can get there in 2, sometimes 3 fewer towers to whatever the objective is. That's not fair, or has a much better defensive position. And this map was riddled with those. It was a problem all the way around. And we've seen it on many other maps where the maps are just not fair. So, and their response really was that they are planning to make fairness a priority. They said that I think that's why they made the building changes that they made mid-season with no announcement. That was, again, very poorly handled. We asked about having a speed build at the beginning of zones. And they kind of semi-committed to having that happen, so that we would not be instead of like, you have a 1 hour speed build, having 2 hours, and then you're touching tips and you can fight. And we also touched on having end a season warband of some kind, like choose a team once the season starts, so that you eliminate some of those diplomatic issues that arise where small teams never get rewards, or you have betrayals because one team really wants better rewards and they're not going to get it on their current team. And they said that would take some development time, which is understandable, but they at least committed to looking at that. What am I missing, guys?
Another thing we talked about was, and I guess you might have covered this, but like the way the map is designed as far as like, I think passes and certain choke points being better. I think they're already tackling this with the most recent like Spire change and stuff. But one of the things I had mentioned to them was how it's significantly easier in some maps for certain zones to invade into other zones. And while, the bridges and stuff do look cool, it really hinders, things like road length, so on and so forth. So that was something I personally mentioned because we had a negative experience trying to do a zone invasion across a bridge at one point, and I think we showed them a couple of pictures of how and why that is, and they said they would also look at that.
Yeah. When you can defend an entire zone with a single properly placed city that blocks the only possible tower location.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it seemed they understood the TPing part, but I feel like they didn't understand the farms blocking part.
No, they really didn't.
I don't
Yeah,
think they
and if
understood that at all.
anybody's watching this who's a dev, the simplest fix is if there's an account that has 0 resources and 0 troops, as soon as it hits, it just needs to be teleported away. If they do that, then they get rid of this problem for everybody. Like I personally feel like it's not that hard of a fix, but who knows?
Yeah. Or if you're off territory, you get TP'd out. I mean that I guess
I mean,
that would eliminate the ability to burn people, which is admittedly fun. But at
yeah,
least it
some
wouldn't
people
be in the way
want
anymore.
yeah, some
No, I
people
mean, I
wanna
know
take
some people
rallies.
want to take rallies. Like their most recent like change that they did, where if you like build a tower, it teleports people out within the tower's range, is just completely pointless in my opinion, because you can't
Yeah.
even build the tower if they're blocking the tower build spot. So it's just like general gameplay stuff like that that I think is making a lot of people, like myself and our builder, just rage quit. I I don't know if this was touched upon in this section or another one, but I think another thing we talked about was them just deciding to make a complete overhaul on how building essentially functions in the middle of a KVK after we'd spent hours like min-maxing, or the fastest route towards the dragon, and then it was just completely useless overnight too. So yeah, I don't know.
It wasn't all negative though. I mean, they did address the like Eliana crap. Like they don't want that as like where it blocks. They did mention that, and they have changed the RSS nodes blocking teleport. So that's a cool change. But they did say they're gonna look into. They have to figure out how to do the Eliana thing, and I think it was you, Lev, that suggested just make them like Darklings or whatever, where you can just teleport in. But then they replied it was like a technical issue or something.
They insist
Yeah.
on keeping them as an alliance rally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are gonna try to fix that. The Eliana, the bags, and all that stupid crap.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
again, I think their answers were more like kind of people pleasing us, so we kind of shut up about it. I didn't see like a solution presented, at least for these issues.
I felt like especially when we started talking about the issues with, because we brought up end of season, which is especially for small kingdoms a big issue, the end of season rewards, and also having had a recent season where we almost had we've been betrayed. We've had close to being betrayed before. I think we all were saying, nobody wants to fight all season long and then have one team get pissy and leave and you lose your rewards at the end. Or fight all season and get nothing, which RK has done more than once. And they seemed actually excited about the idea of having some sort of lock in your team and share rewards at the end of the season. So that was kind of a win for us, I think, and a win especially for smaller teams, and for Diplo not being a raving pain in the neck.
Yeah, and to be clear, that's for the maps that don't have the A, B, C, D team up.
Right, the
thing,
non-camp maps, yeah.
because those already have that feature where at the end you can warband now. They said that all of those maps now have that. So it's only the non team up maps. And what they were saying was like after matchmaking has finished, there would be like a where you declare your ally type thing or something like that, and then like Platy said, you would lock in, and then once that's done, then they would be okay with like sharing. So we'll see if they actually do that. I mean, Jason, what you're saying, I kind of like, I agree with you if they don't follow through with a lot of the more positive things that they said, but they need
Reason
time
I'm
to
saying
develop
it,
that.
the reason I'm saying it is based on our experience from the first dev meeting that all kings had access to. They said a whole bunch of shit with the same kind of phrasing that they said at this one, and we got absolutely nothing out of it.
Yeah, I think you just have to look at it like a half glass full thing. Let's see. Like we have no other choice anyway, brother. Like we have to wait. If
I
they
mean,
don't,
again, that's being optimistic, not realistic at that point. And for me, I'd rather be realistic. Like, yes, we're still gonna keep playing the game and still roll with the punches. It's not like we're gonna be able to change what the devs are gonna do. But I'm not gonna sit there on copium thinking like, oh my god, they're gonna change a bunch of shit when in the past that they've proven and showed that they didn't really do shit.
yeah, I know. I feel like, I mean, you even said it yourself. This meeting was a lot different, so I think we just need to see, and the next KVK is kind of where a lot of these changes would go in. So if they don't make a lot of the changes that they said they would, then I mean, a lot of people aren't going to roll with the punches. They're just going to quit the game. So
Yeah.
that's the driving factor, I think, in why they will make some of these changes. But the Bastion and decoration changes that we all want, like getting rid of Make Way, I just think it's going to take a lot more. We're not going to get those changes right away. It's just going to be a constant battle.
Yeah, I think.
And
No, go ahead, Platy.
no, and as I said last time, I think it felt kind of like they understood that they had really screwed up with last season. I mean, it wasn't just decorations, it was just a terribly designed season overall. And then, they threw a bunch of other unforced errors into the mix. But I don't think they have a lot of time to figure this out. I think players are leaving at a kind of alarming rate. Big players, little players, and I don't think they have a huge amount of time. Like Jason said, we'll keep playing. People aren't keeping playing. They really aren't. So I think they've got, the new season, the new map design sounds really cool. And I think they probably have and through that season to figure this stuff out. And otherwise they're not going to have a game left.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't make good change, I mean, I'm personally done with the Trine and the Kings group. So I think a lot of
Yeah.
us will be.
To that note, I think for me, when I hear Jason speak on his views, that almost feels like a core part of it, which is usually how it starts when you think about kind of that snowball effect, right? It's like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, right? And it's to an effect of, it's like the boy who cried wolf, where, if you consistently see that there aren't any kind of meaningful changes or maybe meaningful conversation or meaningful results out of a discussion, the next step could just be simply reseating oneself, right? Limiting your interaction, i.e., in the King's chat. If they ask for polls, if they ask for feedback, it could just eventually be less and less people participating and engaging. And at least, Jason, based on what you said, that's kind of what I take away from at least a part of what you're saying when it comes to, like, realistic versus unrealistic or hopeful expectations, is that, some people that will happen to. And usually over a period of time, especially if things are kind of going in a general direction that let's say is just not maybe at an upward angle, you can get into those situations where, it's the same concept as kind of like leadership burnout, over a period of time. It is different, of course, but similar in its common denominator of that. It's like, if you're not kind of getting anything out of it, or you don't feel like you're being heard or appreciated in any kind of way, generally, of course, you can run into those issues where people will just stop caring, and they'll stop participating. They'll stop chiming in. They'll stop wanting to be included. And hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't blame Jason for the way he feels at all. I get it.
Okay. How about we get to number 4, matchmaking. So we get there. Platy, go ahead if you will, please.
They are really touting their new. So we asked them, what are the plans to improve matchmaking, especially with the addition of decorations, because that you can have kingdoms that are the same power, us and NXW, for example, and that we are not the same beast at all, because they have a lot of people with max decorations and we have none. And pointed out that, for older players, beta players, early G1 players, a free-to-play player that's around 100 million power is expected, totally free-to-play at this point in the game, versus the G2s, G3 players, those folks coming in, if they're 100 million power, that's a different level of spending entirely. And so kind of trying to account for that. They said that they touted their transparency for team up, their system that they debuted this last time. I don't know about the other kings. I didn't find it super helpful.
Transparency where we can't even see who registered for what.
Yeah, exactly. And as soon as you started a team, you can no longer see anything. Yeah. So the interface definitely needs some issues, but it was a start. They said that decorations are integrated into matchmaking calculations, and they do some sort of calculation based on open field and rally capacity of every player, derived from heroes, pets, city themes, contributions from past seasons, and decorations. Track win and loss to make losing kingdoms get more favorable matchups, resource stockpiles, and recent activity and levels. I think the fact that RK, TFS, and NXW were the B paragons suggests that adjustment is not particularly good, because there is not anyone that would put RK in the same category with TFS and NXW. So I think their weighting is clearly off. They need to do some work there. And I think, yeah, I they didn't give us a whole lot of details there, but they did say that they are going to weight the decorations in some way. We requested that they make it possible for us to see who has decorations, because that's at the moment it's a black box. You don't know until you hit them.
Oh, you can
Yeah,
scout
you
them
can you can scout them now, but it's
Oh.
I don't know. Yeah.
So if you make a farm in the kingdom you're about to be fighting and go scout them, maybe you can see who has decorations or not. It would be nice if that showed up somewhere easily visible without having to scout them and all. But We didn't get a whole lot of details there. They said that they were working on making matchmaking more transparent, but that was about all the detail they gave us for that. Unless I'm forgetting things, guys.
That was about it. They did say they were going to come out with a data tool, so maybe that'll show
Yes.
decorations.
Yeah, they're working on a, and beyond this might be something that you're interested in too. They're working on a tool, we mentioned a lot of the kings and alliance administrators have to run scans using third-party software, and they said they're actually working on providing us something that we can use in game to help calculate like merits and all the general stuff we look for, like how much resource healing or how much mana certain individuals use throughout the season to track fighting statistics. So that was a pretty big upside for me. I think that'd be great if I don't have to spend money to third party or give it to third parties to get that stuff. So, or some
Yeah.
kingdoms have developed, like I think we're at the point where we developed our own bot that just does it for us now. So
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. It does make me wet in all the right places. So if you know what I mean. Platonically.
See, I told you if we
of
started
course.
off at a good note, we finish it. You know what I'm saying?
Finish it. It's just- but I obviously in reality, or I should say in a PG version, rated way, I agree in that sense. Obviously, I think it'll massively depend, and I think Platy and Doom and I kind of gave them my take on this, is that it also depends on how much they give. Right. If it's just basic and it's baseline and they're not really kind of giving you everything you want, at least initially, you might still find some more value from, utilizing other services, at least maybe until they get it to a point. But if they are able to, where you can get everything that you would ideally like, especially even for someone like me, for what I like to cover wise, and or add anything to that. Yeah, I think it can absolutely be great. My whole thing is, man, like, let's work smarter, not harder. And sometimes, less is more. And sometimes, having certain, like a good example, how many of us were preaching for them to add in, that the title giving feature where that can be more automated. I mean, just think about how long RoG what was in existence before they added something like that. And then you compare how long COD was in existence before. And I mean, it's night and day. Like, they obviously introduced it into COD a lot way sooner than they did for RoG. But obviously there's, a learning opportunity there because it was the first one out, at least between the two titles. But even something like that saved people hours upon hours of time that now they don't have to sit there and volunteer their blocks and fill in time on a spreadsheet and say, oh yeah, I'll cover this 2, 3, 4 hour window where all you're doing is just wanting to bang your head against your screen because you're just literally, it's like the most mundane task, but yet they add something in and now it's saving people so much time. So I hope, my hope would be, yeah, from what you're saying, Lev, on that, they add something like that in and it helps people not only save time, but also, to what you said, maybe save, some finances too as well on that end. And if it's something where they can develop internally and in-house and then just add on to, I think it could be great. But we'll see.
We know they have this data. Like,
Of course.
they have
everything.
They have all this data. It's just whether or not they're willing to make it available. And we know this data is available in game because people have found ways to find what is not visible with all these tools. So we know they're collecting it, and there are ways to get it if random third party people can find it. It's just whether how much they're going to make us beg for individual scraps of data. I'm hoping it will be easier because that really does. I mean, on top of everything else, as king, you're expected to pay for expulsions and all this other stuff, and then now you're also paying for data. It's like add insult to injury. I'm really paying to do a job at that point.
To expand, Lev, I know obviously you implied it. Did Jason, your thoughts on the matchmaking points and response from the team?
Coming from the TFS perspective, matchmaking has always sucked ass. Even after we've been doing our rebuild, we've been getting matched up with, in my opinion, KVKs where we did not belong and we kept fighting and we've been in the trenches and, spending those countless hours and shit like that, which could be alleviated by, fair matchmaking. However, I have not seen that. I have not experienced that. So my opinion is only negative about it.
Yeah, I gotta side with Jason on this one. I feel like we're either in a KVK where we very clearly outspend and can stomp people, and that's boring, or we're in a KVK and we're punching up and I tell my guys just keep fighting, and then I find out that, even though we lost and each of us pulled like 30-40 million merits for that season, it's actually going to hurt us next season because it gets taken into account. So I don't know. I think they need a better way to determine matchmaking. Like, if I know I'm going to lose the season because of like some BS Diplo or whatever that the other sides do, I could just tell my guys, go get your 12 million merits, get this, that, and we'll call it a day. And then hopefully we'll get an easier matchup next season. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like they have to do a lot of stuff to fix it. So we'll see. I'm very curious as to how this next KVK will go. I'll be honest, I'm not really looking forward to it. I don't know, man. I just feel like they've always dropped the ball. It's like either too easy or unwinnable. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but that's kind of been my take on it.
Yeah. I think the season we were matched up was the closest on paper, but then one of the kingdoms was migrating out, so it
I
ended up
haven't
not
experienced
being.
the too easy part, but yeah, sure, I'll agree with you on that.
That's
We
what
we
I'm saying. Like
rarely, I don't think we
well,
have.
yeah, well, me and Platy were in a season where we actually fought each other, and then the ally they had was like they just shouldn't have been there. They were basically all migrating out anyways, and I don't know. Like I said, that just weird, man.
We haven't had
Yeah.
a lopsided one in a while, but I think we've been really lucky in that regard.
Must be nice to be you, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ours have been
Must be nice.
better since we came to G2. They have been better, but still lopsided.
Yeah, I mean, we had a whole year where it was pretty bad, like 3 or 4 in a row. But lately, it's been all right. But I think we've just been lucky because I know other KVKs are just like completely, like it's not even funny, like how unfair it is for one side, and the players on the winning side, they're not gonna have fun just womp stomping something, or the players that are getting their faces smashed in because of bad Diplo or something like, or they're just mismatched. Just like it's not fun.
What are your guys' thoughts in regards to, and I mean, I've talked about this a little bit, and I know I've had a chance to speak to some kingdom managements on this as well. And I recall a few people bringing this forward when it came at least to the team up phase and or just anytime classification is brought in, where especially obviously in this last one where they did basically the ABB, and then the CC and then 4Ds. My view on it was that I just don't see why Bs should be with As. I don't see why. Maybe you could argue some Cs and Ds depending on how wide the gaps are. But generally, I at least had felt that it should just be same letter with same letter. And I say that because in non-team up phases, there's been times where I'm sure many of you recall this in the beginning of the game's history, at least for when I was tracking KVKs, we would often see like a couple high tiers, some mid tiers, and some low tiers get paired in KVKs. Then eventually, over a period of time, based on feedback, they started then basically putting the top 6 to 8 kingdoms in one, and then they kind of went top 6, next 6, next 6 as an example, or depending on how many kingdoms were allowed in the KVK per zones. And it felt like at least objectively, there was better matchups, at least not as lopsided from the latter versus the former. I guess I'm curious from those of you, Jason, maybe we'll start with you and then go to Lev, is what are your thoughts on how the classifications are done, and or do you just feel like, man, like there's just one way of doing it in my opinion, and it's this way, and it should only be done this way, maybe with some variations, or maybe it should only be these 2 or 3 ways that are considered.
My opinion is it should only be done specifically based on your kingdom power, which should include the new decorations and war pets and shit like that. However, they need to be more transparent about your kingdom power or how it's deduced, like what's like the power that's actually in matchmaking.
Mm.
So if they're going to tell us, like, for example, your top 300 players is your kingdom power, that, you know, you go by that, no matter how much they count. Is their top 300, that's the power, that's what you're going into matchmaking, cool. We'll know what it is then, and we know how to plan around that. That's fine, you know, that then we could tell people to migrate in or migrate out based on what seed we want to be paired in, right? That would be fine for me. My problem as it currently stands is they're like, yo, we're going to weigh everything. We're not going to tell you how the fuck we weigh it. Good luck guessing it. And every season you're going to get paired with where you're not supposed to be at, but you're never going to figure out how we do it. GG's.
Yeah. I think I can understand that, where it's understanding the how, understanding the meat of it, and not just kind of looking at the presentation for what the end product is, but really having a good understanding on, you know, are they weighting decorations and assigning them like, you know, a 1 to 10 point scale, and you understand that, and then maybe it sums it up, right? Something that is visually tangible that you can really understand, and I get that. Second part here for you, your thoughts on classifications with the way that they've done. Do you agree with like the A B stuff, with A's and B's being mixed together? You think it should just be A's, B's, C's, D's, etc.? Should they have more than just A through D?
I agree with the A, B, C, D variation of it.
Okay.
However, I don't agree how they choose who the A paragon and B paragon are. And they need to be more clear or transparent on that line between A and B and between C and D.
Okay. Like essentially in a similar way to how they identify your kingdom activity status, where they tell you like, you know, 0 to 1500 is normal, 1500 to 3500 is active, like something like that, where like it's very clear. Yep. Okay. Okay. Lev, how about to you? Same questions to you.
No, I kind of second what Jason said. I would like to know how they calculate who and what impacts your kingdom power. Like, are we getting screwed because we have people that have like 10 to 15 farms to, you know, allocate resources to themselves? Are they hurting our kingdom, or are they not hurting my kingdom? Like, I don't know. By that, you know, I just don't want to be kept in the dark about that kind of stuff. So the other big thing is just how matchmaking is. Like, I think we touched on it earlier, how it's set up. I agree that it should be like, I like A, B, C, and D, right? As far as like the maps and stuff, I don't think A's and B's should be in the same maps. It's for the most part, like I feel like for 95% of the KVKs, I'm trying to think of, I think there was like only a couple where the B teams were able to essentially overpower the A teams, but I feel like it should just be A's against A's, B's against B's, C's against C's, and D's against D's. And whatever they use, like it should just tell you based off. I wish there was something that could tell you, hey, you're, as of right now, you're considered in the G2 pool an A kingdom. I think that'd be great, because then I could choose whether I want to bring more people in, let people go. That way I could find like the sweet spot, you know, and that there unfortunately isn't anything like that yet. I don't know if there ever will be, but the biggest thing for me when it comes to this stuff is just, it feels like it's just like a guessing game, and it's not fun, you know?
Yeah.
Also, if I'm a drop a little point there.
Mm.
If they do stick with the A, B, C, D, they need to have like a guideline of who you could pick to be on your team. I don't think like a paragon and a strong ass A could pick like a low ass B to sandbag their matchmaking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna asterisk there on that
Uh,
one from personal experience.
I mean,
Okay.
Yes, please.
you're not necessarily wrong, right? I mean, most people are able to see that because I track that, and then I also give rankings associated with that, and so people can see that. And I've pointed this out multiple team up phases when you have people that are either going for a super OP matchup. Obviously, last season, right, there was a couple team ups where you saw people were kind of going the opposite direction and going like high PvP activity percentage matchups versus just kind of going, you know, just like stank power and just going like high merit, high power, average base, average APs, and etc. for what we're kind of typically seeing generally before, when some teams would kind of take like, we're just going to grab the strongest people, because I mean, arguably you could do that. And so no, I definitely agree there on that front. It almost would be nice if they kind of had some, like almost some conservative or some kind of capping rules in place to
Or if they could put like a pool together, right, of like 10 kingdoms, be like, hey guys, these are the kingdoms you can match with. Good luck, figure it out. Or like 20 kingdoms, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
something like that. That would be cool. But I don't think even if you get into the A, B, or C, D category, you should be able to be like the strongest team in the game and then be like, yo, you're the weakest B. I'm taking you so I could have easier matchmaking. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
kind of ass.
No, I effortlessly understand that. Doom, how about you? And then we can round out with Platy if she has anything to follow up with.
I don't know. It's hard. The AB thing is it's a complicated thing. I think they definitely need to add in a higher classification, because the difference between a low A and a top A is very different. And like almost like an S tier, right? And then those S tiers can, instead of bringing a B in, they can bring another A in. So then you still get those big KVKs with the big kingdoms. And then, you have the A's. If you're an A, you can bring a B in. But I definitely echo what Lev said. B's should not ever fight A's directly. Like if it's a final zone and everybody is working together, that's a little different. But like last season was not great. Two B's versus an A doesn't work. The math doesn't math there. To echo something that was in the last meeting, it doesn't work. So that doesn't need to be a thing. And then I definitely also agree with Jason and Lev. Like there needs to be more transparency on what an A is and what a B is. And I don't think, Lev, I don't think they would ever come out with a system where you can tell what you are, because then that just creates a min-max race for those who want to skate that line. Maybe like they want to be a B and stay a B, and they'll, and then it just becomes a.
Yeah.
But there needs to be like something, right? Like you know what I mean?
Do people not do that already to an extent though? Like come on, I feel like some kingdoms are like, all right, man, we need to drop X amount of people. I think this will keep us in a B range. And then, we've got 2 super big Krakens here on our team that maxed out their decos and their war pets, and we should be able to farm B teams.
But the thing is, they don't know it, right? So like,
yeah, but I feel like you can kind of.
Well, to be fair, there is enough data
know?
out there already where you can basically get an
Yeah,
estimation.
exactly.
Right?
You can kind of get a good idea. Like you can get a good grasp of it, right? If I'm trying to drop to a B, I could say, okay, if I drop to like the 14 to 16 billion mark right now, I should be able to give my team the best chance of like, winning KVKs or whatever, just because of my rally and garrison capabilities or something like that, so.
But it gets complicated though, Lev, because when you're the determination of A's and B's is kind of proportionate to the amount of kingdoms signed up for that KVK as well. So there's a lot of like variables in there. I think instead of like a straight thing saying you're a B or you're an A, just need to be a little more transparent about like the two, and where you're at. I mean, if they want to do a straight, here you go, this is what you are, that's fine. I just don't think that's going to be very easy for them to accomplish. I just don't think that's something that they'll ever have, because the changes are just going to be crazy. Like you would have, like, let's say, let me give you an example. Okay, let's say it's like 10 minutes till matchmaking starts. That's when it closes off, and then you're trying to be sneaky or something, and right before it happens, you just migrate, you expel 10 accounts and drop to a B at last second or something like that. Like just so you can like get into the B range. There's some kingdoms out there that would do that. and then that means somebody else who was a B then becomes an A, and they weren't even expecting that. It just, I don't know. That's a hard one, but they do
I
need
personally
transparency.
I just feel like that stuff happens now. Like some of these B teams that we fought this last season had, like, they shouldn't have even been a low B team, man. I don't know what 9 billion power teams were even doing as B teams. Like, I think we held off like one of the B teams with like 10 to 15 players because they were like, I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, I agree with that.
A camp season before when we were 15, barely 15 billion. No, we weren't even 15 billion power, and yet we woke up as an A. And it was like, how in the hell are we in the same category with Echo?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just there's just too much variation. Like maybe they need to add like an A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I don't know. Like I don't mind the system that they have now, but I definitely think it can be improved. Like it's by no means perfect. And at the end of the day, man, I think personally, and I think this that goes for all the kings out there. We just want a bit more transparency and a bit more control. I feel like every time I do anything on this game, whether it's war pets, registering for a KVK, doing anything, it's RNG, pulling an exemplar. Like, let me get my 20th Karada's Wrath in a row. Like it's everything is RNG. I just want some set of transparency. So, or like, I don't know, just a little bit more control and stuff like that. So managing the alliance and all that is easier, and it's not just completely a roll of the dice every single time we do something.
Yeah, they definitely need to add a category though. The ABCD is not enough. There's just a 9 billion power kingdom shouldn't be a B, versus a 16 or whatever the cutoff was this last one. That's like
It's like what Jason said, right? Like, what do you do if like a 32 billion power A team and like a 28 billion power A team, which is the next highest A that's not a Paragon, decides to pick like 2 9 billion power B teams, and they're like, oh, let's just match you with like TFS, who's maybe like 18 billion power, and then like my server.
So fucking familiar right now.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like say me and
yeah.
Jason are on a team as the 2As, and we have like a mid-tier B, like Platy's team at like 14 billion, and we go up against like a Paragon A, the top A, and like 2 shitty B teams. Like we're gonna get stomped either way. You know what I mean? It's just so, I don't know. It's I agree with Jason, man. I think the system is there. It just needs to be improved because some of the things that people do is just dumb. Like I don't know.
And I don't even know this round that it was deliberately throwing it. I think a lot of teams got in a position where they had to take some very small B because there was nobody left. Like we fought Abda this time, and MFD and NXW, and then they had this like 9 billion teeny tiny French B team who, I mean, props to them, they showed up, but like they were they were so outmatched. It was not even funny. Whereas, on the rest of the map was outmatched the other direction, and I don't know that it was even necessarily deliberate. It's just when you only have a certain number of teams, and some of those teams really shouldn't be there, you get some weird matchups.
That reminds me of that FSK meme that they posted last season about how like nobody wanted a team with the last 18 build power or something that was that they threw on the. I obviously that's just an example. It wouldn't necessarily matter which kingdom it was, but I think anytime you're doing any kind of team up stuff, right? It's always it's always going to kind of be the what is it, the blacktop, what is it, like the middle school blacktop, forming your teams. Like I want you, I'm going to pick you, and then it's sometimes not necessarily wanting to be last, but maybe it's like a similar thing for what Jason said. Maybe you just get a pool of 10 or 20 kingdoms that you can pick between, so it's at least a little bit more structured and it's a little bit more transparent, and I guess more visible in that sense, where you don't necessarily feel like you're getting caught off guard, because you're always going to have some kingdoms that are going to be a little bit more sought after. The one thing I'll say for matchmaking is I just really wish, and I don't know if you guys saw this, Yami brought this to my attention, so shout out to Yami. She had let me know that RoG, for their last update, had I think it was either the last update or the last Q&A, but she had sent me a screenshot or I had forwarded the message, and apparently one of the points there was that it's the way it was worded sounds like they're going to bring some kind of like KVK registration format for your kingdom into the game.
You mean like signing up
Exactly.
players?
So, no. So I don't know if it's players. It could be alliances, or maybe it's like, you say, I'm going to bring these 2 alliances in and that's it. And then, obviously you as your management team will, figure out what players you want in those alliances to bring in. And those will be the ones that participate. But that will be what factors into your actual kingdom strength that then gets factored into matchmaking. That's the way it was worded. That's how it sounded to me. And that's how it sounded to Yami as well. And that just came out. I think they just put that out maybe 2 weeks ago. It was like a week or 2 weeks ago. I think she sent it to me. So,
That'd be a great feature in this game.
what? I mean,
We've only
I'd
asked
love
for
that.
it a million times and been told no.
Yeah. Is that? I'm curious. Is that something that anyone has asked for in King's Chat?
Repeatedly.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Over and over.
Okay.
We got the leaf ticket system. That was the best we got.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just
Wow.
16 players. That's it.
Wow.
You can't. That's not what it's designed for anyway.
Yeah.
No.
Ugh. Well, I will say the way it was worded for what was sent to me, and if any of you are interested, just let me know. I can DM it to you too, or forward it to you. But for what we've at least been seeing, if you want a little bit of light at the end of a possible tunnel, we do know that obviously they are, essentially kind of going back and forth between transferring what they consider to be, additive features from one game to the other. So that could maybe be something to look forward to. But I'm effortlessly in agreement there. I wish they would just put something in and then it just kind of lets you control it, and then now you'll just utilize that going into KVK matchmaking. Anyways, aside from that, let's move on to the next one here. Hero balancing, 0.5. Platy, if you can lead us off, please.
Hero balancing wasn't actually something we directly talked about, honestly, in our questions. We and they hadn't really talked to us about it a huge amount during the Q&A, unless I was sleeping through that, guys.
I think it's more the balancing of the the marches, like the tight, like against each other. I think when that was brought up, like we talked about it briefly, but it was more during the like when we started talking about rallies and garrisons or the bastions.
That's what it mentions in here.
Right.
There's more rally garrison.
Yeah.
That's kind of when we talked about it. But that was really it. It wasn't a very long conversation.
No, they mentioned that they wanted to bring back. They wanted to make sure that kind of triangle of who counters who was viable again, because it hasn't been for ages.
And then I think I pointed out that nothing but infantry survives long enough for it to matter anyway.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
we brought up archers. We brought up archers.
Yeah.
Because everything that's not inf just gets swarmed down by cavalry. So I know they said there wasn't the response like they're working on it, and the recent update like removed skills from working on rallies or something, like hero skills.
Forced fair play on everything. So rallies at least should be less swarmable anyway. So
I haven't noticed any difference. I don't know if you guys have.
It should. I don't think we've seen it in KVK yet. So or at least not before most KVKs were done. But hopefully, that would be a wonderful change if you could actually. I don't know, rally with something that does damage instead of something that just survives.
I know at least with archers in general, like because we talked about long range warfare and stuff, that they said that the changes that they just implemented, they don't want to make any more changes until they see, it's the baby step method that they want to do. So they want to see how they function as far as like the heroes and stuff with the new changes, and then that's pretty much like. That's what they like. They're not going to make any drastic changes until they're going to do little changes here and there.
You know what I'm curious on that I'd love to ask you all. In the beginning of the game's life, there was a point in time when rallying and garrisoning just did not exist. And that was a distinct, I felt at least, a distinct and unique approach and feature change when it came to differentiating COD from RoG. And I know that for a number of people, they very much enjoyed that. And at least I recall at back then at that time, before it was announced that this was being tested, before, of course, later being implemented, there was no amount of overwhelming support, call to action, votes, where people were screaming from the rooftops saying, we need this in the game or else. And so I guess I'm just curious, and whether or not you've played a kingdom builder that has rally garrisoning, or i.e. RoG or another, if it just didn't exist, and this is my question, if it just didn't exist, would you still be okay? Like, I mean, would it just not have
Yes.
registered to you at any point? And I guess I guess if I can, let's go Jason, Lev, Doom, Platy, in that order.
Can we repeat that? Sorry, I'm getting blown up by my lines right now.
Okay, I mean, you need to tell them to just STFU. Like, you got bigger, you
I
got
did,
bigger.
and then I got
He's like, I did.
think a fucking mana pit.
So,
Yeah, serious business, bro.
yeah, the short version. Once upon a time, there was no rally garrisoning. Did it matter to you at all that did not exist at that
Not
point?
really.
At that point, like,
At that,
okay, so
I think at that point when the game first came out and that wasn't like a thing, it didn't really bother me because it was never a thing.
okay,
Now that it's been in for so long, I don't think they can take it away because everyone's been used to it.
okay, but it's not something that, at least at that time, if they had never added it in, you wouldn't have batted an eye. You wouldn't have been like,
No, because I wouldn't have known the difference. I've never played RoG, so I don't know like
Okay.
the whole filling a flag and all that shit.
oh man, so you're like, man, you got like that, man, you still got that chastity belt on. You're a little pure right there, not being able to, man,
this is my first
wild.
one. I told you
Oh,
this has been my first one. All this has been a learning experience for me. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, to be
man,
honest.
popping all those cherries, man, throughout that first experience. That's but that's so awesome in that sense, where because you didn't have that before, you kind of come in a little bit more, not like jaded, or not having kind of like preconceived notions or any biases towards it. Like, this is what it is. So it didn't bother me kind of either way. That's cool. I didn't know that. Lev, how about you?
Yeah, I never played RoG either, so I'm kind of there with Jason. This has really been my first experience, and I still don't know what I'm doing half the time either. So, yeah, ditto on that.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not I just don't like Bastions, man. I think they suck, and they take the fun out of the open field fighting and strategy out of the game. So, if they didn't exist, it would not bother me.
Okay, fair enough. Doom?
So Bastions came around as an answer to the turrets, right? Before the turrets, it was barricades.
Bring
Right?
barricades back.
Yeah, nerf the barricades and bring them back.
Yes, I like the barricades, man.
Don't even fucking nerf it. Just take out Bastion and slap me some barricades and pull with it.
Yep.
So, like, I think with Bastions, right, the biggest issue with Bastions is, other than what we've already said, they prevent you from pushing forward because they shoot the towers, right? So it's not you have to, that forces the rally garrison thing. You can't have you can't just have field control because you can just sit there and hold a bastion down forever. So, like, if the bastions weren't here anymore, I think it would encourage more fighting. And if they were just gone, right? And also, I've never played RoG either. The only person I think that's played in the 5 of us was Apta, unless you played Platy.
Nope.
But so, like, I think what they need to do, I like the idea of a rally to garrison. People have already spent too much money investing in that, right?
Well,
Like,
I liked it on the
would be more-
passes. Like, on the passes, the cities, when it was initially introduced before Bastions. I agree with you there. Because I like the
So-
idea of people being able to go back and forth on passes, and there were some that lasted only a short period and a long period. But, like, you knew that once that was over, now I get all my cake, which is open field.
What I think that the rally garrison should be is like a control point in the zone. Okay, like, and this point gives you a buff. Like, behemoths give you a buff, but this is like a building. You take it over, and it gives you a big buff. They have these different control points all throughout the map, right? And it doesn't prevent you from getting through them. You still have to, it's not like this super defensive structure, and like you just can't get past it, or you can't drop it on the other side of a river and just through, and they have a choke point on the other side and just block them. This would just be a control point where it's like a forward operating area. It gives you buffs, maybe good nodes, resource and something like that, something cool, on the map. And you want, as an offense, you want to take it because you get more buffs. It helps you win the zone quicker. As a defender, you want to defend it because if you let them get it, right, then they're gonna beat you a lot easier. And so you still get that fighting experience for rallies and garrisons, but it's not that Bastion goes down and then the fighting stops and it's just a Bastion fight for hours.
That's interesting.
That's what I think. They need a new building. They need to get rid of the Bastion.
Because basically what you're saying is like it would be a point that isn't directly contending with like flagging to a pass or flagging to the dragon, but it's kind of like a separate point that both teams would, or who's ever fighting in that zone would have to flag to. That's kind of out of the way, so it's not something that would like really dampen or hamper you. I mean,
it doesn't have to be out of the way. It can be in the middle of everything, but it doesn't block it doesn't block progress. Like if like you can still, it's not going to shoot your towers down as you try to connect to it.
It'd be like in the middle of like a ravine or something like that, or like a big flat land area, but not necessarily on like a hard choke.
Yeah, you take it over, that's just an idea I have, but they need something to replace the Bastions. They've had Bastions forever, but whatever that something is, we still need that rally and garrison combat because people have invested so much in it, and it would be wrong to take that away.
Okay. Fair enough. Platy, any last thoughts?
I know a lot of people in my original alliance came from RoG specifically because they did not want to do the rallies. Like, the rally garrison was not something they wanted. The draw of COD was open field, and that's what all of us were really sold on. That Bastions could disappear tomorrow. I've negotiated for Bastion free KVKs. They could disappear tomorrow. I'm the one who has invested heavily in garrisons. I was fine with it just being passes. I took plenty of deads and passes. It felt like it was a mechanic introduced to balance out the fact that every single bend event they had was to push power, and they were trying to make people take as many deads as possible so that they would keep pushing power. Is what it felt like. And I don't think anyone has enjoyed Bastions from the inception of Bastions. Something like Doom is suggesting, that would be fun. An objective to keep open field fighting going, but have something kind of cool to fight over would be awesome. Objective based fighting is fun. That's why the big ruins are so much fun. But as they are, I would be cheering if they disappeared. That would get me back.
I mean, just tell us how you really feel. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
bring barricades back. I'm with Jason. Let's do it.
I've been saying that for
even
years.
the turret. I don't get turrets weren't that. I mean, they were annoying, but they weren't that bad. Barricades, I don't care, but anything but Bastions. Good lord.
The thing I liked about turrets, this was the same thing, obviously, with like the tower spam right at one point. And my whole thing is, I like it, and I like the barricades more than I liked the towers. So excuse me, the turrets. But my thing with the turrets was that, and many of you know this, because it was kind of being utilized in the same way that barricades were. There was so many KVKs where like it was just, I mean, they might have well rebranded the game to call it turrets because people were just layering them, like spreading them like seeds on grass. It was just it was so dense and so thick. And my whole thing was like, man, just limit it maybe on like the total amount that you could use. But the thing I will say that I liked, there's two mechanics that I thought were a great baseline for barricades and for some of the turrets, which is that they had CC effects. I like the fact that there was some tactical elements and some strategic elements to how they were used, right? With barricades was slow and being able, I liked also the fact with barricades that you could keep, you could go and upgrade them, right? If you kept your troops staying on it, like I just liked the fact that there was a level of like manual action that you could do as an individual. Like even if you were someone who like maybe wasn't able to go out and fight, you could go out there and basically, it's almost kind of like, if you're not someone who's going to go fight on the front line, you can dig trenches. Like you can still be useful in some way. Like I just liked that kind of utility aspect of where you still had actions that you could do. Like you could still engage members in different ways. I just liked that element of it. And then obviously with some of the turrets where it was like an example, the ice turret, right? Where it would, I think it would impact some slow effect or something that it would do if I recall correctly. But like those kinds of things, like I liked that there was some kind of tactical kind of crowd control effect that you could use this in kind of a tactical way. At least that was my hope for it. But only if they had limited kind of the total amount or maybe even just how many one person could build within the alliance.
The old school turrets, like you could not breach a choke point if there were people online. You couldn't. So they would need to be nerfed a little bit, and the destroy time needs to be like 5 minutes instead of 25 or whatever it was. But like that was fun. Maybe one turret, kind of like the Bastion, like you can only, there's like an area around the barricade where you can't build another barricade, so there's some space there. I don't know, something else besides Bastions are just, we need something different, but I don't think we're going to get away from any, like the Garrison and Rally. There's just, the whales have spent too much money. Passes just aren't enough because passes are for that, they're not fighting for the zone. You're usually, with passes, you're defending your previous zone. So like they need something where you can have Rally Garrison fights during the actual zone conflict. But they've got to do something. Bastions, just they cut them out, man. It's time. They'll bring so many people back into the game if they do that.
And it's what made me giggle was that they were saying that they got rid of the barricades and the turrets because it stopped open field fighting, but they are married to these freaking bastions that are way worse for open field fighting. I mean, talk about something that stops it cold. So,
turrets were never a problem for us. We just blew through them. They felt useless almost. The slows was what was awesome. You could slow them down, and that was a good answer. Like the calves and stuff, like the big cav waves people send. You could have the frost turrets kind of slow them down a little bit, give you a shot.
Yeah. Give you time to defend.
Just yapping about this, but they need to get rid of Bastion. That needs to happen.
No, appreciate it. All right, let's go to number 6. So for Kingdom Alliance Management, Platy, if you want to start us off, please.
For Kingdom Alliance Management, that was another one that we hadn't actually posed a question on, really.
Okay.
We asked what would be done to streamline Kingdom management. Our ask in the Asking Kings chat for a long time is for them to pick one. They have all these things that are alliance based, and then things that are warband based, and then things that are kingdom based. And that means that we spend an insane amount of time hopping from one management window to another, moving people all over the place, running 5, 6, 7, 8 alliance shells in a KVK, and it's just exhausting. And if people need to be in alliance mobilization in this shell, but you need to be fighting in this shell, and you're trying to move people back and forth, and they've made some things easier with the priority list and all, but I still can't have, R5 has to hop on to promote someone to a titled officer role so that they can register for Roots of War for no apparent reason. We keep going. Why can't any officer just select all in the alliance mobilization to refresh the quests? Why does it have to be a titled officer? This is
Man, you know what? To your
just
point,
stupid.
too bad they couldn't have some kind of like a master interface where you could like register alliances with the kingdom, where the king or queen and the chancellors could just have access. So like basically it would almost be kind of like a folder system, right? Where it's like one folder would be this alliance, the other one would be this. You just click on that and then it immediately pops up and lets you manage that without having to, right? Where you can do that all from one account. That would be interesting. If they,
Ian,
Which was kind of what we talked about.
I
was it-
suggested that.
oh, you did?
Yeah.
Hey, me and Dave, great minds thinking like, hey. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
That was just my initial thought, based on
And
what you
they
were
actually
saying.
seemed really interested.
Okay.
They said they couldn't do that. It was too complicated to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
probably a lot of moving parts to that.
But you know, they did say, at least for the sign up thing, we gave them the idea of like the whitelist where you're automatically enjoying. You could, if you're on the whitelist, you can sign people up.
Yeah.
Without them being in the alliance. I mean, if they do even that, that's gonna be so nice.
And a whitelist for the priority list, not just be you're in R4, but you're in R4 and Saintus or whatever. So you can pre-assign. Since they seem married to these, people have to have a title to do stuff, which still baffles me. I don't know why.
I mean,
But
personally, in my opinion, if they make the alliance system like I don't know if any of you play World of Warcraft, but like you could create ranks and different ranks have different permissions, that would just, alleviate almost all our headaches.
Played it for 21 years, brother.
yeah.
Didn't
Yes, sir.
they do a Q&A or a hot topic or something recently within the past
No,
couple
WoW's
months?
a good game. Oh, well, about the devs? No. The devs
No.
didn't do shit.
I thought they no, I thought they did something though. Touche. I thought they had came out with something though saying that they were going to come up with a system to have more customization, more permission customization for ranks.
And they have.
Yeah.
They have. You can now, like my R3 can now place, I have it set up, my R3 can place towers and markers and so
But
I
they're
have
still
trusted
limiting us
them
with 4 ranks and only 10 R4s, even
Yeah.
though
and requiring titles for things that really shouldn't require a title.
How many?
It's
How?
kind of weird.
I was
They
curious
go to
from that
the-
comment, Jason. How
What?
do you feel like the amount of officers, or even just the amount of people that you can have like assist with things, should be greater than 10, or should just be unlimited? Where you can just assign whoever you want.
I think it shouldn't be quote unquote limited. I think you
Mm.
could kind of set the perms for that rank, right? Like if you want R4s to have whatever R4 perms like they currently have, right? If let's say you want to keep the current system as like R3 does nothing, R4 has the ability to do shit and whatever, that you should be able just to bring however many fucking players you want into R4. Whether it's 10, 15, 20, who cares? And that's your business because it's your alliance and you trust these people. And not like, yo, I got 10, I need to cycle through them before I go to sleep. I need to make sure Asian players have R4 so people could do stuff and things like that.
Yes.
Which is a very real thing, because I know I've talked to some kings and queens, and some of them have 2 or 3 different R4 teams that they'll either cycle on a 12 or 8 hour period, especially when KVK is going on, compared to what they might do in the off season. So I mean, I think it's a good point.
And we have handled that with the new permissions they've given to R3s. I've given my R3s all the permissions I can, essentially, which helps for everything. But for some reason, they can't remove roads unless, and they can't cycle the alliance mobilization quests, and yeah, there's things that are gatekeeped weirdly, and I can't figure out why. Like, why would we be gatekeeping alliance mobilization quests like that? That baffles me.
What do you mean that's one of the most important features in the game according to the devs?
Oh my god.
It's clunky. It's clunky, and they
I mean,
really just
there's a
need
lot
to
of easy
overhaul.
solutions to things like that, especially with those kind of events. Like, why not make a system where you could just pick which quest you want?
Yeah.
No?
Their
Like, it's
answer
the
to
same
that,
quest.
Jason. Their answer
What?
to that, Jason, was the personal refreshing thing. That was their answer. We actually brought
There's
that up. I
only
don't know if
2
you
of
were
them.
there for that part.
I think that's
Yeah,
where
I
my
think
power
you're
died.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's only 2 of them. I was all excited for that, but 2 does not cut it. Like
Yeah.
people,
We're still
especially
refreshing.
yeah, we're still refreshing,
Our
and
fours,
Again, I mean, for example, right? We got different players who do different shit and spend different amounts because some are more degenerate than others, right? So, like, for example, me, why can't I just open the Meganium tab and want to pick 10 quests that I could fucking spend 20,000 gems or whatever the hell it is, instead of sitting there refreshing every single one of them to hopefully get it, and hopefully get it at the right level.
yeah,
Like, it doesn't make sense.
they have things that are RNG based and locked in ways that just don't make any logical sense. At least not. I don't understand the design philosophy behind that one.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
So something before we move on to 7, I'd love to know from each of you, and maybe we'll go in order of Jason, Doom, Platy again. At this moment in time, what would be your number one, whether it's something you touched on in the King's chat or not, or something you touched on in the player dev meeting, what would be your number one management requested feature? Whether it exists and you just want it modified, or something that doesn't exist and you'd love to see it added?
Bring in the guild system of World of Warcraft where I could assign ranks and however many people I wanted, whatever ranks, and give whatever roles I want for whatever ranks.
Okay.
I don't think I'm asking for too much there.
Was it?
I mean,
Yeah, breathe.
he was concise, if anything.
Give
Okay.
him the world.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Doom, how about you?
I mean, they told me no, but if you're asking me what I want, the universal management system. I want to be able
Okay.
to manage from a kingdom, the alliances in my kingdom. I want everything, every event. I want it one-stop UI, one-stop shop UI.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I know it will take a while to build, but can you imagine how easy it would be for us to manage our freaking stuff in just one UI instead of going all over the place?
How much time you'd save?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Platy, how about you?
Either a one-stop shop UI or they move everything to one of the levels. I don't care which one. Give me everything is at alliance level. I take one alliance into a KVK period. That's it. Fine. It's kingdom level. It's warband. I don't care, but give me management for everything at that one level, so that I don't have to futz with it and I don't have to move people around all over Hell and Creation. Because some alliances are more like herding cats than others. RK is very cat-like, and yeah, just give me one thing that I have to focus on.
Okay. Fair enough. My thing that I had, I think I might have, I can't recall if I told this to you, Doom, and Platy last time, but the one thing I would almost like to see is if they had some kind of a mail library system where you could attach alliance mails to events. So like if there was a list of every single event, and then you could create template mails, and then you could attach them to a specific event, and then even customize the notification settings on it. So for example, I think the one I was using was like Brink of War. So like let's say you came up with like an overview alliance mail for Brink of War, and then you had more of a specific breakdown for each of the stages. You could create those 4 templates, attach it to Brink of War, and then you could set the date and like notification release time for each of those mails. So like you do the overview one maybe a day before Brink of War, right? Then you would do stage 1 on the day of, stage 2 the day of, stage 3 the day of, right? And it would be each of those. Something like that to me, I feel like would just effortlessly eliminate so much work. And obviously, I know there's some people that just already kind of have that stuff on their Discord bots and, just kind of automatically gets pinged. But for me, I always view having things in game as a little easier just because you never know what language someone might speak, or if they speak a different language, or, if they just want kind of an easier way to translate in that sense. Sometimes those things can help. But like for me, I don't know what you guys think about that, but like for me, that's something I feel like could be very beneficial to kingdoms and alliances.
And the ability to have more than 3 things a day, 4 things a day on the calendar. That would be fabulous.
Yeah, I like that. You know, it's so funny you say that. Yami sent me. Yami sent me. She sends me this thing every once in a while where it's like her. It's basically her calendar, her personal one, and it's for like all the events. It's like her events calendar that they use. And there's like sometimes she'll send it to me, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna do these 10 events that are all going on within the same like 2 or 3 day window." It's like it's pretty nuts. But I think to your point, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Where it's like, that'd be great. Um, uh, Lev, over to you. If you want to chime in, we were just touching on alliance and kingdom management. If you had like one thing, like one just ultimate wish on something you'd love to see added in the game that either doesn't exist or maybe is a modification of an existing system, that would be kingdom
I
and
just
or.
wish I didn't need to run like 6 shells. Like if I could just register one alliance and call it good there, I'd be a very happy man. Trying to do, I think these guys probably already touched on it. They probably already gave their input, but like trying to do mobilization in your main shell while trying to fight out of your like 3rd shell or whatever is just a big pain in the butt. So it's like the 30. I mean, I think I heard you guys when I came back. There's like 30 events going on at the same time, and trying to get everybody in to do them is just a big hassle. I wish they would figure out whether we're just like, are we a kingdom or are we an alliance? Like, what are we? I feel like that identity is not really there, because you are a kingdom and you do have like a king who manages everything, and that requires you having like 5-6 different shells to be competitive, sometimes more, and it just gets really hard, and officers get burnt out having to micromanage, like in some instances 150 to 200 people. So I wish they would tell us what what the goal or the identity of the players on a respective server is. Are they an alliance? Are they, a kingdom? And if that's what they're sticking with, then they should make it easier for people to manage those things, because right now it's not that easy. It leads to a lot of burnout, a lot of frustration. People get upset when they miss rewards, so on and so forth. I'm probably repeating what everybody's already said, so I'll just leave it at that.
No worries. Thank you. We will still take it. I know we're kind of getting close on timer, so if we can, maybe we can try and speed up the last for 7 and 8 on exemplar artifacts and glorious return. Maybe instead of kind of going over an initial introduction for each of those from Platy as per usual, maybe we can just kind of go into your guys' responses for what your views are on how they responded, and if you felt maybe it was enough or they should have done more. Jason, we'll start with you.
I mean, my stance is pretty clear. I think they responded like shit, and they could show us instead of blowing smoke up our asses.
Okay. Once again, concise. I appreciate. Lev, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it earlier, but I'm tired of this game being a complete RNG fest, man. I feel like I'm in Las Vegas every time I try to do anything, whether I'm re-rolling a pet, pulling an exemplar. I like that, they mentioned that they're making the changes to where like you'll get some of them back or whatever, but
Yeah.
God, I wish we could just choose the things we want, and that way we could have like a steady progression, kind of like you get in I would say most MMOs or most other games you play, right? You have a goal, you can kind of build and work towards it. Here, you could just get completely screwed and get 40 Lucia's horns, and it's just like, I don't even know why that's an exemplar, to be honest. Like, I feel like they just troll us at this point. So, and as far as like the
Glorious
deads
return.
back,
Yeah.
yeah, the glorious return. I don't know who they said thought it was like too strong. Whoever that is clearly doesn't play the game. Like, I don't know, man. That was like the dumbest take I think I've ever heard. Like, glorious return is too good. Like that, like it's causing people to want to take more deads, like swarm cities, potentially swarm bastions. Like, taking deads is good. Like, people should be enticed to take deads. People should be enticed to save their gems, even as free to play players, because like 30 to 40,000 gems can get you a lot of your deads back. Before this was a thing, nobody like, people were scared to take deads because from what I understand, it doesn't work like it does in RoG. So again, not really sure what they're thinking there. It's like it's weird. They release something good, right, that everybody is okay with and likes, and then they nerf it. They release something that's like complete shit that nobody likes, and then they don't do anything about it. no matter how hard people complain. That's kind of my take on it. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, fair enough. Doom, how about you? Exemplars, Glorious Return, thoughts on the responses?
So the exemplars, we kind of brought that up when we were talking about decorations, and then they dropped the bomb on us that they were gonna basically make it so that the ones that you already have, you're less likely to get, and you know, you would get back the 3 or whatever instead of 1 whenever you did get a copy. And they didn't say about the retroactive part, which they did later in their notes. So I thought that was pretty cool that they were already doing that. However, like, I think the pity right now is too high. The pity kind of solves the RNG problem that Lev was talking about, but it's still, I think the pity picking is still too high. And then, but I think at least we're getting something for exemplars. It's not, I think unlocking exemplars is still too high. We did mention that in the meeting. For the lower spenders, I think it's ridiculous that it takes that many keys. And then far as the Glorious Return, we didn't even talk about that in the meeting. So I don't know where they got this from, or whoever the heck they suggested that.
Interesting.
But
Bro,
that's
whoever said that fucking
like-
lied to them straight up.
like, yeah, like it was one of the best things they've ever implemented in the game. Like, people weren't scared to storms. I mean, like, people were rallying cities. Like, it was, you know, like, people were taking rallies because they wanted to test their garrison, which is a really important thing in the game, is to, like, you know, have a garrison in your city and take rally. It just, now that's, I mean, even nerfed now, it's not going to be, it's just not going to be the same anymore, and that's sad. You know, that was a really fun part of the game, you know, and it's just going to be taken away now because somebody, I honestly think they made that up. I'm just going to be real. I think they made it up, yeah. That they heard that feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or some idiot was like out on the field, you know, some idiot just didn't teleport back and they got their city swarmed and they're crying about it now. I don't know. That's the only other scenario I could see somebody posting something like that, but still, man, it's kind of ridiculous.
They're going to get swarmed either way.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, it does make you wonder, especially when, because I've seen stuff that they've suggested, and I'll go and look, and it's like no one submitted this thing on suggestions. No one's really talking about it in Gen Chat. No one mentioned it in help. Like, it's just it's non-existent. And part of me wonders if, again, I don't know. Like, part of me wonders if what Doom said on, like, maybe they just throw some stuff in there, you know, and or unless they're just getting that feedback via VIP support or some other method or some other means or some other avenue. But when you literally don't see anyone talking about it in any kind of mass amount, and then you see something where it's like, oh man, they're considering this. It's just, I don't know. I guess to me, it's a little suspect, I guess is probably the best word I could use. But Platy, your thoughts on exemplars and Glorious Return for their responses.
I mean, I can tell you where the Glorious Return came from.
Okay.
And it was extremely high spend players who feel like, and I was seeing this in some of the communities I was in. Some of the 400 million player-ish folks thought that they were being robbed of their advantage, their troop advantage, by having lower spend players be able to get their troops back. So I'm sure it was suggested. I just think it was a stupid suggestion.
Jason, was it secretly you?
You got me.
Fuck. Why would I want to do it? Do you know how many troops I would have back if I could have fucking kept buying them? I
got
have
like 8
50
million
something
deads.
million deads right now. Okay?
Yeah.
I have more
but-
in dead power than I do in real power right now.
Bro, that's impressive.
Solid.
And as for exemplars, I mean, I think the change is good. I'm happy they're going to make it, you know, slightly less frustrating, but it's still, it's one of those, we've added too many Kraken only mechanics that are, I don't mind free to play or pay to win mechanics. I mind when those pay to win mechanics have gotten to the point where moderate spenders can't even come close to keeping up to midline. You know, if moderate spend is now 2K a month to keep even, which I was looking at some of the calculations from folks and some of the when Noir was still around, some of the folks who were in Noir were saying, yeah, to stay competitive there, they were spending 2K a month.
Interesting.
That should not be mid spend. Like it's not that's not or like that's the low spend folks. That's not low spend for the average person. And I just think it's tuned. I don't think anyone has a problem with Kraken having advantages. I think they have a problem with them having insurmountable advantages. And with all of the things added together, that's what it's become.
Yeah, something you can't really like realistically work towards, right? Because at least T5, you could do the research, eventually work towards it. It's like decorations. It was like, yeah, it was nuts, man. I don't know. I don't feel like they've listened to a lot of the suggestions either. Like I think some of the people said, hey, put forge keys in the VIP shop. So like low spend or free to play guys can like purchase them with like resources, or make it so like speed ups or gold heads can be purchased with like something other than gems or mana. And I feel that stuff always falls on a deaf ear, which sucks because a lot of my really low spend or free to play guys would benefit from stuff like that. But I don't know.
There's always going to be a substantial difference between low spend, mid spend, high spend Krakens. I don't think anyone thinks that should be different, or they wouldn't be playing this game. But it shouldn't be that you have no prayer, I guess. So
Yeah,
that's my hot take.
Okay. No, fair enough. Last thing then, thank you for that. Last thing is brand new content. I will say that I was partly excited for some of the things, but some of the other things, maybe not so much. But Jason, let's start with you on brand new content.
I don't think they need to make new content. I think they need to fix their old content before fucking spending time on new content.
I probably shouldn't have asked. I should have just summarized for you ahead of time.
I'm a very simple person. You know what I'm saying? Like, fix what you already made before you fucking spend countless hours making some other shit you're gonna fuck up anyway.
Look at last season.
Yeah, I was literally gonna say that, Doom. I agree 100% with Jason. Look at this, the double artifact season. Like the Inception was cool, but holy shit, was that map awful, man. Like I don't know. Yeah.
And before you release it, I don't know, have like a beta test server. I don't know, beg some players to test it out for you, since obviously the devs don't play their own games, something like that.
Okay, fair enough. Doom, how about you?
So I'm not going to be quite as blunt about it, though Jason is 100% right. I mean, this new content is coming, though. So, the city thing that they kind of briefed on, which for the new
You mean the
map,
siege?
The siege,
Yeah,
it's like, that.
Hold on. In response to you saying the new content is coming, all I'm saying is GTA 6 pushed their game back like 18 times for like 17 years. If they could do that, I'm pretty sure COD could push it back for a month.
Yeah, I mean, look at Star Citizen. It's been out for more than a decade. But anyway, but we know how this company, Jason. They're gonna come out with new content. It's already been worked on, so they're gonna finish it. So I just and I mentioned this in the meeting about this. I said very directly to them, please make sure it's balanced and tested first. And we talked about because of this last map, and they know they messed up on this last map. So hopefully they take that into consideration. They didn't really have a lot of specifics on the new content coming out in the meeting, but they just kind of, this is what's coming. Like the cross server invasion sounds pretty cool, but that's a long way off. I mean, it wasn't as much as I would have wanted, and I'm okay with that. I think they need to put the content on the back burner, you know, and fix the core issues in the game, and then release the content, right? Otherwise, you're going to have new content that's still cursed and plagued by the same core issues, and you have all this cool new map that they really worked hard on, and nobody likes it, not because of the map, but because of the core issues of the game. So, yeah, that's how I feel about it for new content. Sorry.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. Platy, how about you?
I think the new map sounds really fun. I will say, I mean, this company has canceled things they've been working on multiple times. See the new faction that they've been that they were talking about, like from launch, that they have now apparently canceled. So they've certainly canceled things before. But I agree. I really want to see balance and bastions and matchmaking and the impact of decorations and all of these things evened out before they spend a ton of developer time on a new map. But I mean, it sounds cool. It sounds fun.
Okay. I will say at least the one thing that I think, because it already exists and it's not necessarily something that they probably, I imagine, would have to maybe invest kind of a substantial amount of resources for, i.e., right, if they make a brand new map or they come out with this brand new siege warfare system, was the RoG League Peak tournament they mentioned, which was basically doing like the global versus the Chinese players that they kind of did for that one exhibition match a while ago. I do think that could be interesting. Hopefully, maybe not one-sided from one region versus the other, but I do think the concept of them expanding it could be cool. And the one thing I will say on that, to maybe round out my thought, is it would almost be dope if they grabbed like the top 30 players, I kind of did like an all-star team, and they grabbed like the top 30 like players that would want to do RoG from like the global region, and then they went up against like the top 30 players, or like maybe like the number one Chinese like RoG team or something. That would even be cool if it was like an exhibition kind of a thing to like hype up like the Peak tournament. I just feel like there's like that kind of stuff they could do more of for things that are relatively okay or decently good already in the game, and it's like you're just kind of doing a little bit of an add-on. But
I'm gonna touch on that.
Okay.
If they do that, it wouldn't be fair or balanced, as we're saying at the current moment. Asian clients can purchase an unlimited amount of packs of pretty much any pack.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
At any time. So they're not limited to, for example, like Asian players could have got decorations maxed out the same day that they were released.
Jeez. Oh my god.
I think they're at a cheaper price too on the
yeah.
Asian, like the
They are.
Chinese and the Korean
They are
ones are cheaper.
significantly cheaper. So
They
that would
talked
not be
about
balanced.
using presets instead of like everybody got a preset account.
Okay.
To even things up.
Yeah,
and that's
I
what they
did
did for
mention-
exhibition. They gave everyone like an unlimited account, and you could just modify it however you wanted.
I did mention the RoG League stuff, because I highly recommend you get Abda and talk about that, because he was really into it and he's got a lot of feedback for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they're gonna have like everybody's the same account type of thing, which I think they should just do in the top RoG League for the next RoG League anyway. But that's just my opinion. But
Okay.
it's make it more about your strategy and skill as a player than.
Are you implying swiping a credit card is not strategy?
Yes.
I'm offended.
Yes. Now we'll keep regular RoG like that, right? Keep regular RoG.
I'm
like
offended.
RoG.
I don't know, Doom. I'm gonna have to start war with you now. I don't like the way you spoke about my skill.
Well,
It's like, I don't like how you talk about how I spend my money.
Jason. You can swipe the credit card, Jason, and still have skill, though. You know what I mean? I'm not saying
You're
you don't have
asking for a
skill
lot
because
He's like, I only accept
But
one way or the other.
there is a lot to talk about on the and we're
Yeah.
kind of, I know we're over time, but the RoG League thing, I definitely think you should do a separate piece on that with Abda. So he had
Okay.
a lot to say about that.
No, we'll do. We'll do. I know. I've already reached out to Abda, and I think we're planning to get together. I think you said Tuesday at the earliest, so we can sit down and I can do a follow up with him, maybe just a little bit more of a one-on-one to touch on the roast stuff and kind of get his thoughts on some of the other things. Because obviously, I do want to obviously be able to hear from everyone. So, all right, I think that's probably it for where we're at. Obviously, and first and most importantly, thank you so much for all four of you and the time that you've taken out of your day to sit down with me and to conversate and to share your feedback and thoughts on how your experience was in this second player dev meeting. To close it out, as always, you'll often hear from me. I'm going to give everyone just kind of an opportunity, as I usually do. Any shout outs, declarations, and or shots you would like to fire, or any closing remarks for those that would potentially like to be neutral, which might not be the first person I call on. But Jason, go ahead and lead us off, please.
Shout out to my leadership team, TFS back on top, baby. All right, that's one. Doom for insulting my credit card usage. We're beefing. I don't know. I don't really have an enemy in the game currently right now, so I'm kind of in an existential crisis. So if anyone wants to beef, reach out to my DMs, please and thank you.
All
Other
right.
than that, shout out to all my new recruits, all the new people who joined TFS. Appreciate everyone giving us a shot. Glad to be back in like a top tier bracket kind of thing.
It's been a long road, but I'm sure a well received one at this point. Lev, over to you.
Nothing crazy for me. Just hope everybody had a good holiday season. Wishing you guys all have a really good New Year. Spend some time with family, friends. Stay safe, and yeah, just wishing everybody the best.
Awesome, thank you. Doom.
So I wanted to I had like a closing comment. I already gave my shout outs in the last meeting. And first, Jason, I wasn't insulting you. You're okay. It's okay. But for my closing comment, like for the next meeting, because they did say they want to do more of these meetings, I would ask the other kings in the king chat that we get together and maybe focus on like one topic to bring up with them with the time that they give us, because we needed more time on bastions and decorations. We needed a lot more time with them. And I think if we take the most heavy topic, which I believe would probably be decorations, I know bastions is up there, but I think decorations is a bigger one. And we have like an hour or two meeting with them and kind of go over it. I think maybe we can kind of get the change we were wanting. Not all of it. They're not going to give it to us, but they might get some of it. More avenues to get the blueprints and stuff. Like we just didn't have time to go into that. So I think the next meeting that they have with us, we should try to focus on one topic, and I think we can maybe get one thing done and checked off the box and moved on the list, the next meeting. But other than that, Happy New Year, everybody. Enjoy Diplo on New Year's Eve. That's going to be so much fun. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the meeting.
One more thing after Doom's comment.
Yes.
Whoever I'm doing Diplo with at New Year's Eve, I'm giving you a warning. I'm going to be fucked up. All right. Sorry about it in advance. All right. Good luck, everyone else. You got to deal with me. I'm going to be drunk as shit. All right. Everyone else enjoy. Stay safe.
Spin a wheel, Jason.
Doom, if we're in the same Diplo, I'm just saying it's going to be a lot of wheels.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
Okay. Ending it out with the professor and the lovely lady of the bunch. Platy, go ahead.
So, not having brain fade this time. Shout out to my folks in RK, Kingdom 3. It's been a long road with those guys, and it's hard to be leaving them, but I know they'll be amazing. And no matter what the stupid rumor mill is saying, RK is not disbanding. They're still very much alive and well, just without a platypus.
RK's disbanding?
Here it starts.
Oh God.
Mm.
No. So they've been they welcomed my crazy band of misfits like we were long lost family when we came, and they are an amazing group of people, and all of the other amazing folks I've gotten the chance to meet in this game, including the folks in here. I've played with most of you, and it's been a pleasure over the years. So don't give up, guys. This was for all of our frustrations. This was a better meeting than we have had. So I hope to see changes, and maybe I'll be back. But thank you, guys.
Thanks, Platy. I guess if I was to close anything out, I would just simply say, and I'll keep this incredibly short, is I think whether you're a member on the COD team, if you're a dev and you're listening to this, or even if you're just a community member, regardless of what anyone said or how anyone here said anything, people wouldn't share their thoughts. They wouldn't share their feedback if they didn't care to at least some extent. And it doesn't always mean that everything's going to be packaged and presented in a pretty way. Sometimes it might be nitty gritty and down in the mud. But the fact that people are willing to express their feelings, I at least think, is tantamount to at least some level of care and a willingness to want to hopefully believe that the end result can be better than maybe how it initially was perceived and came across. So, of course, as with anything, we will see with time. But I will close it out. And again, thank you guys so much. Again, to Jason, to Lev, to Doom, to Platypus. This has been an absolute pleasure of mine to host you all and to give you all a platform and a floor to speak to. Because I think a lot of people out there, especially when we did the first part, were very interested to hear from people that attended the meeting on what their actual thoughts were, even going as far as some players saying, we want to hear from the rest of them because that may factor into our decision whether we continue to play or not. And it just, I think, goes to show how much weight the community and especially members in the community carry when they participate in things like this. And people in the community want to hear from that and those individuals. So thank you guys so much for making some time and being willing to sit down with me, especially given how long we've been going for now, almost 2 hours. With that in mind and being said, that is it from us. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought. If you'd like to maybe hear from these people on some other topics and or any other kings or queens, maybe who we should talk to next if so. And hopefully you enjoyed this one. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.